not only being a friend to the Most High, which is how we get highly favored, but just having friends. In today's class, we're going to talk about this is the last class of friends with the mind of the Most High. But we're going to talk about how to establish friends even amongst kings. And so we're going to go through the scriptures and touch on these things because a lot of us work in environments where we have supervisors, administrators, CEOs, and managers, and we have to establish friendship even amongst them through the Most High. So we're going to start off with 1 Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. 1 Colossians chapter 3, verse 17, and it reads, "And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all by Hashem, Mashiach Yahushai, giving thanks to the Heavenly Father Yahweh by Him." So we know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and when someone is working in the kingdom of men, you always have to deal with politics. Politics comes with everything you do. Everything. You want to get a job? Politics. Everything requires networking, which is also a form of politics. So friendship, too, is the same way. When you have friends with the world, that's a form of politics. We're going to touch on some things regarding that. Let's start off with Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. Because the last class that we had, we touched on friends regarding just establishing friends amongst our peers and friendship amongst husband and wife. In the first class, it was concerning friends with the Most High. All right, all of it's dealing with the Most High, but just establishing friends was the first class. So this last one, like I said, is going to be how to establish friends with superiors. And so Matthew chapter 18, verse 20, it reads, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them." Now we have seen that with Job and his 3 friends. All right, they came together in the Most High's name. We saw it with Daniel and his 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We saw it with Nehemiah and Ezra and even Zerubbabel. Those all were friends in the kingdom of Babylon. Right? And the Assyrians, with Nehemiah and Ezra. So we saw with the same thing in the book of Genesis, Abraham and Sarai. Good example, Abraham and Sarai. Abraham got the spirit, and Sarai didn't know what he was following. Eventually, she realized that she was following the Most High, and she followed Abraham into salvation. She eventually followed until she met the Most High personally when she laughed. And he corrected her and told her she was going to have a child after a year. He was going to revisit her. So that strengthened her belief. Her husband's spirit and his faith strengthened even his wife's belief. It even strengthened Lot's belief. Okay, Lot dwelt in Sodom. It strengthened his belief. So one believer can change the outcome of a lot of different things and establish friends. We need friends like Ruth. Read the book of Ruth. Ruth was a go-getter. She was a go-getter type of friend. Let's go to Ruth chapter 1, and let's see what type of woman Ruth was. Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. "And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy power my power." So Ruth was a go-getter. She saw something of worth, and she saw how these people multiplied and how fruitful they were, and she followed them. She wanted a piece of it. Those are the type of friends that we need in this time. We need friends that'll hold on to us, that'll follow the Most High. Wherever the Most High go and his people go, that's where they'll be. It's all about the Most High. People are always looking for strength, and people in the world don't have any strength. They don't know what the Spirit is. It's actually kind of sad, but this is what makes the word of the Most High a secret place. Everybody can't find the secret. It's a mystery to a lot of people. They don't realize that this little book has so much power that it changes the outcome of the entire earth. It changes history. It changes the future. It changes everything. This little book. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 18. Okay. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 24. And it reads, a man that hath friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. All right, so Ruth was a woman trying to find a good husband, and she found a good husband in the people of Israel, and she stuck closer than a brother or a sister. But this is the way we have to show ourselves friendly. Was she not friendly? She was friendly when she was with the mother-in-law of, who was it, Boaz. She was friendly with him. So we got to be friendly to people too. Be at peace with all men. We want friends. Companions are easy to get, but companions disappear. Some companions even hang out with you for years before you realize that they're really not a friend. They just always been companions. You want a friend, someone basically who won't continually let you down. Because companions will let you down. So you want someone also who loves the Most High. If they follow you, like Ruth did, she followed her mother-in-law and she found salvation. She didn't let go. It's just like we spoke about Elisha last week with Elijah. He followed Elijah, and hey, he asked for the same thing Elijah had. So, I mean, it's a form of being friendly to certain people so they can follow you to find the Most High. Eventually, they're going to want what you got. Matthew chapter 17. Matthew 17, verse 1. And after 6 days, Yahushua taketh Peter, James, and John his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. All right, so what would make Yahushua's face shine like the sun? Remember, the Most High's face shine like the sun too. How is that possible? Well, what makes your face shine? Remember, this can happen to regular people. If it happened to Yahushua and he was in the physical, it can happen to us. It happened to Moses when he went on top of Mount Sinai. He came down and his face shined like the sun. How is that possible? Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 1. When you talk to normal people in church and they're like, well, God has no color. His face is bright. They don't understand that he does have a color. He is a black man. His feet is bronze. His hands are bronze. His arms are bronze. But his face is bright. Why is it bright? The angels' faces are bright sometimes. If the faces are bright, this is why. Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 1. Who is as the wise man? And who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. See that? So what maketh your face to shine? Wisdom. Wisdom of the Most High. No, he had color. It's just the wisdom. You can't see past his wisdom. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7, verse 12 in the Apocrypha. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7, verse 12. And it reads, and I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goeth before them. And I knew not that she was the mother of them. Wisdom is called a she. I learned diligently, and do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches, for she is a treasure unto men that never faileth, which they that use become the friends of the Most High, being commended for the gifts that come from learning. All right, when you get the learning of the Most High, your face will shine like the sun. The Most High will bring friends, and you will become a friend of the Most High. See that? How do you get friends? By keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, which will bring upon you wisdom. and understanding. Let's go to the 28th verse. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 28. For the Most High loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom, for she is more beautiful than the sun. See that? And above all the other order of stars. Being compared with the light, she is found before it. But you want your face to shine like the sun and being like the order of the stars, you got to have the Most High's wisdom. It's just simple. Very simple and plain. Let's go to 1 John chapter 4 and 8. 1 John chapter 4, verse 8. It reads, He that loveth not knoweth not the Most High, for the Most High is love. If you don't know what love is, how are you going to know what wisdom is? Because a lot of brothers and sisters don't love each other. When you tell a brother and sister about the commandments and they don't keep it, they don't realize you're showing them love. You give them all types of love and they're not listening. They don't know of love. So if they don't know of the love that we giveth, they don't know of the Most High. You tell them, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. They don't know what love is. Here you telling them. 2 John chapter 1, verse 6. 2 John chapter 1, verse 6. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye should walk in it. So what's love? Keeping of the commandments. You telling your brothers love, we tell them don't eat pork and shrimp and crab and lobster. Don't touch pork. We ain't even supposed to touch the pork. Okay, I'm going to show you an example of what's unclean and how we conduct ourselves with it. So what I'm about to post here, this is a picture of a boar bristle brush that most brothers and sisters use with fades. When they got waves in their hair, they use these bristles. Now, the Most High says that we're not even supposed to touch pork. That means the hair, the nostrils, the hooves, everything of swine, we're not supposed to touch it. Okay, it is an unclean beast. Now, don't get it twisted that we didn't have pigs in the kingdom, because pigs have a service or a purpose. Their purpose is to clean garbage, clean waste. You got watermelon husks, which the Israelites ate watermelon, ate corn husks. All that stuff, we gave it to the hogs, and they would eat it, and they would poop it out, and it was a form of fertilization. You have to consider these things, things that were unclean. Did we not have them in our substance, in our area? We had to have certain things because we were farmers, and we had to use manure for fertilization for a lot of different things, trees and things like that. So, I mean, don't get it twisted that we didn't use the stuff. It's just when it came to like our feast days and our Sabbaths, when we had to prepare, we washed ourselves to get ready for these feast days. We had to be cleansed. Okay, we're still not supposed to eat it. Still not supposed to touch it. But you got to use common sense with this thing. A lot of you say, well, that's the pig. Well, dogs are unclean. Cats are unclean. Certain birds are unclean that brothers have for pets. Okay, we had all types of pets. We had dogs. We had cats. Okay, so those things are unclean too. But you got to have understanding and wisdom on how to use those services. Okay, and preparedness for feast days and Sabbath days. That don't mean that we were going around touching stuff all the time, but remember, it pollutes our bodies on feast days or when we're getting ready for prayer. That's why we're supposed to wash. That's why we're supposed to cleanse ourselves. But don't think that we didn't have it around us. We had dogs. We got dogs now. Okay, so just use common sense with this, spiritual common sense, and you'll go far. But with the boar bristles, think about this. Why is it in the departments of black hair products or Latino hair products that this product is being pushed? Just use sense, good sense, because the adversary is trying to pollute us. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 14. It reads, "For she is a treasure unto men that never faileth, which they that use become the friends of the Most High, being commended for the gifts that come from learning." We learn from the Most High, his gifts. We learn from the commandments. And you'll multiply friends of the Most High when you keep those commandments. Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 2. Acts chapter 2, verse 1. Acts chapter 2, verse 1. "And when the day of Pentecost was fully come," those are the gifts, knowing the feast days, "they were all with one accord in one place." And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. A rush of a mighty wind. That spirit ran in there. It was happy. See that? It rushed in the house. Everybody was on one accord, meaning they were all keeping the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. The Spirit rushed to them. "And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance." See that? The Holy Spirit will run to you if you keep those gifts. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, and let's read verse 2. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 2. "For he will be found of them that tempt him not." See that? How's the Spirit going to dwell with you? When you're not tempted. You get tempted to do something for someone that's wicked. Most High, I mean, if you still would or hang out with friends that are in the world, and they still into all types of adulterous things and lustful things, they'll use you for all kinds of things. They'll use you for an alibi. "Hey man, I'm at your house this weekend. You know, why you out here? Oh, my wife, I left her in Arkansas. I gotta go hook up with this girl." Don't use me for an alibi. Here I am trying to keep the laws, and you using me for an alibi. See, friends with the world will get you all caught up. All caught up, man. It says, "For forward thoughts separate from the Most High, and his power, when it is tried, reproveth the unwise." See that? You tell them, "No, man, I can't do that, man." "For into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter." That's even if you're helping somebody that's wicked, that's pushing their wickedness on you. Okay? "Nor dwell in a body that is subject unto sin. For the Holy Spirit of discipline will flee deceit." You got to be disciplined in this truth. "And remove from thoughts that are without understanding. It will not abide when unrighteousness cometh in. For wisdom is a loving spirit." What is the love? Keeping his commandments. "And will not acquit a blasphemer of his words. For the Most High is witness of his reigns, and a true beholder of his heart," his mind, "and a hearer of his tongue." Every word you speak, he's a hearer of it. Gotta be careful, man. You can control everything. Everything is premeditated, pretty much. Any saying that you do is premeditated. And basically, when you do it, you willed yourself to do it. You move your whole body. You bridle yourself to do wickedness. And the Most High already knows you're about to do it. So how are you going to get with some friends that are in the world that's going to bridle you to do the same thing? Unless you're trying to transform them, like Yahushua went into the house of publicans to transform them to the truth. Got to have that wisdom. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 133. The book of Psalms, chapter 133, verse 1. "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. See that? Acts chapter 2 was a form of the brothers dwelling in unity. They all were on one accord. The Spirit dwelt with them. It rushed to them. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garment. So it's telling you he's in line with the law right there. He got a beard, he got garments on, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountain of Zion. For there the Most High commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Spirit came down from the mountain to us. It's still coming down from Zion to us. And we are Zion if we keep his commandments. When we look at the Most High and his dealings, he wants his people to be wise, right? When we read in Deuteronomy, you can't just be stupid in this truth. You gotta be wise. You gotta have some intellect, even though we're in base conditions. The Most High gives us wisdom. 4 and 5. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Most High, my power, commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Remember, he said statutes. Remember that, because when we go through the scriptures, you're going to see we kept the statutes, but we fell somewhere else along the way. And I'm going to show it to you as we go on. Notice the Most High wants us to be wise. Just remember, uneducated people make a weak nation. We got to be educated. The Most High wants us all to be educated in his government, in his leadership, in his laws, in his citizenship. Basically, he wants us to be educated to receive the Holy Spirit. That's the only way we're going to understand the Holy Spirit. The churches, they ain't got the Holy Spirit dwelling in there. They don't have no commandments, no laws, no statutes, nothing. There's no love in the churches. These churches are all pagan, idol-worshiping churches, every last one of them. None of them do the will of the Most High. None of them keep the laws. None of them know what love is. Love is keeping the laws. They think love is just, spiritual. They think spiritual is not in the Bible. They think spiritual is just a word. They think spiritual is just being so friendly. Spiritual is the law. It tells you in the Bible. It tells you that the law is spiritual. That's spiritual. All my life in churches, I heard you got to be spiritual, but they never told us what spiritual was. Then when you read Romans 7 and 14, it tells you that the law is spiritual. And now we're reading about how the Spirit will dwell with you. It's when you keep his commandments and have love and charity for your brother. That's what the Spirit is. Love is keeping his commandments. Let's go to Sirach chapter 33, verse 22. You got to obey. I mean, there's always rules. People don't like rules. Rules are a form of criticism to people. You can't come in my house and do this. People don't like rules. When people don't like rules, what happens? They leave. That's how people are. When they can't follow the rules, they leave, they quit. They talk all types of mess after they leave because they couldn't follow the rules. That's a hard thing for a lot of people to follow the rules. Discipline. You know, I try to teach my children, even the adult ones, the rules. That's why they can't deal with me. I give them rules. Discipline. Now, if you keep my rules, we'll be good friends. But if you can't keep my rules, then you got to go. I guess I ain't going to be calling you. What's the point? What's the point I'm calling? Just, hey, man, how you doing? You okay? I mean, that's all I can pretty much say. We ain't got nothing to talk about, really. Every time you call me for money. I mean, that's not love. asking me for money and I'm giving you money. Oh, my dad loved me. He gave me some money. Well, your friends the same way. He gave me some money. He loved me. That's not love. That's not love. Love is keeping the commandments of the Most High. Love is following rules. That's love. Obeying. Abraham obeyed the Most High. He just wasn't righteous. He obeyed the Most High. That's what commandments is all about, obeying. Sirach chapter 33, verse 17. Look at this. Consider that I labored not for myself only. What's laboring? That's Joshua 1 and 8. Study day and night. That's a form of labor. Consider that I labor not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning. Okay? Seek the rules. All those that seek the rules will find what? Everlasting life, joy, happiness. Let's go to Romans chapter 12. You can keep rules, then you can keep the Most High's commandments. If you can't keep rules, you ain't going to want to keep the Most High's commandments. You ain't doing right, then you ain't trying to do right. It's simple. We go out there and we speak to our people on the streets. A lot of them can't keep rules. That's why they scoff at us. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me what to do. Man, the Most High said this is what he wants if you want to have everlasting life. And now people are getting more and more sensitive. They're more sensitive now than they ever have been. You can't even talk to people a certain way without them getting all sensitive, emotionally unequipped. All right. Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. What is a sacrifice? I mean, you're going to take some punches, some bruises. You ever watch those old Kung Fu movies? In order to beat the master, they had to sacrifice their body. They had to work all day long, hitting wood, trees, standing on one finger, putting their body to the test. Sacrifice. We have to sacrifice our bodies and our minds by following the rules. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. This is our duty. Here's the duty of man, is to keep his commandments, Solomon said. The wisest man on the earth said that. And be not conformed to this world. Why? Because this world is weak. This is a weak place, man. Look at how the world is falling apart. It's a weak place. You got homosexuals everywhere. Effeminate, soft. That's why he says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good, that acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. The will is keeping his commandments. Verse 3, for I say, though the grace given unto me to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Right? You can't think that you're better than everybody else. That's a form of pride. But you could be a man, you could be a woman, and know your duties. The Most High said to be friendly to your friends. That's not exalting yourself over them. Yahushua was lower than the disciples, but he had so much power. But to think soberly, according as the Most High have dealt to every man the measure of faith. Right? Be sober in this truth, meaning be balanced. You always want to be approachable. You kind of want to always have that open door policy to brethren and sisters who want to learn. You still got to do everything in decency and order, and you have to do it moderately, right? Because if you have a family, you still got to be able to raise your family. So you can't let it protrude on your immediate family duties. We're going to go into the different subtopic, which is learning traits of wisdom that will establish us around kings. And we're going to go to, first, we're going to go to Proverbs chapter 22. Turn to Proverbs chapter 22. Proverbs 22 and 29. And it reads, Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. Right, that's a wise man, a man that's diligent in his business. The things that he takes of importance, he's going to do the right things to keep that business going. Whatever he got to do, he wakes up in the morning, he got things that he got to get done. That's a diligent man. Everything is in order. He knows what he's going to do the next day. The next day after that, he got a planner. It's the same thing with the Most High. How am I gonna filter all of these things that I'm dealing with in the world through the Most High on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday? The Most High gonna be there for me when I show up over there. I got this appointment on this day. Is the Most High gonna be there for me? I gotta follow the disciplinary act all the way through the week, because I know if I slip up during the week, he may not be with me on Friday when I gotta go to this appointment. So you gotta do your duty. You gotta be diligent in your business day to day, because every day is a new day, right? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 25. Proverbs chapter 25, verse 6. Proverbs chapter 25, verse 6. It reads, Put not forth thyself in the presence of the king, and stand not in the place of great men. What does that mean? Look at this. For better it is that it be said unto thee, Come up hither. Now, this is not talking about the Most High saying, Come up hither. This is talking about when your reputation succeeds you. When your reputation succeeds you, guess who wants to see you? CEOs, kings. If you come up with an invention and everybody is using it on the underground level, who's going to want to see you? A CEO of a patent company. Shark Tanks on TV. Somebody's going to want to see you and your invention and possibly invest in you. So your reputation succeeds you. So it says, For better it is that it be said unto thee, Come up hither, than that thou shouldest be put lower in the presence of the prince, whom thy eyes have seen. If you come on your own accord, that king or that prince may not want you around. He may say, I didn't tell you to come here. And he may put you at a lower state. We was like that in slavery time. A lot of us was trying to jockey for position over us. I mean, field slaves trying to be the house slaves. And some of the field slaves couldn't be house slaves. They just didn't know how to. Some of the field slaves probably all clumsy in the house, bumping into stuff. And what the master do? Probably put them way in the back of the field. Look, dude, you gonna pick peas, man. You ain't made for being in the house. And vice versa. You couldn't put a house slave out in the field. They didn't have the same language. They didn't act right. They probably was jumping from bugs, jumping all over them, scared of snakes. So, I mean, you don't want to jump in front of a king or a prince or a CEO and slip. You know what I'm saying? You want to be known by your works. Let's go to Sirach chapter 8. Sirach chapter 8, and let's go to verse 1. Sirach chapter 8, verse 1. It reads, Strive not with a mighty man, lest thou fall into his hands. See that? Be not at variance with a rich man, lest he overweigh thee. For gold hath destroyed many, and perverted the hearts of kings. Yeah, you can't compete against a man who got money. You try to argue with him and say you're going to do this and do that and trying to push your weight against a man who's rich, man, he have you thrown in jail. His money could do that. You wonder why the Republicans ain't fighting Trump. Trump got money, and he still has influence in high places. So that's why ain't nobody said nothing.
A former evangelical, well, an evangelist. Well, Frank, welcome back to the program. I should let you introduce yourself, and
Thank you.
And you've been talking at some length about how evangelical Christians think that it's just a wonderful thing that the Jerusalem embassy, that the embassy in Israel has been moved into occupied Jerusalem, and because it's going to bring Jesus back to earth. What's going on with all this?
Well, back when Ralph Reed, Franklin Graham, Jerry Falwell Jr., Dr. Dobson, who founded Focus on the Family, basically cut a deal with Trump. The deal was this, that is unspoken but very direct. We'll put up with all your philandering, your 3 marriages, your multiple affairs, paying off porn stars, your lies, your bogus university, your 6 bankruptcies, your claims about wealth that you don't have, your failing to file tax returns with the public and let them know what you've got. We'll put up with all that as long as you do a couple of things for us. 1, we want anti-abortion judges at the federal level across the board. 2, we believe in the prophecies of Scripture being fulfilled only if Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. The Jews control most of what was Judea and Samaria, in other words, maintain the occupied territories. And as long as you will, as it were, let your foreign policy when it comes to the Middle East be directed by Christian Zionism, the Zionism represented by people like Reverend Hagee in Houston and Reverend Jeffress, who's now an advisor to the president, we will go along with whatever else you do. We don't care about the economy because we think the world is ending. We don't care how many wars you get into because that all looks like biblical prophecy to us of the end times. We don't believe in global warming in any way. Bring it on. The world is ending. We don't care about earthly things. You just do our agenda, and we'll back you. And they've continued to do that. They did it with Roy Moore, an alleged pedophile. No problem as long as you maintain our agenda. Now, back in the day when I was a leader in the religious right in the 70s and 80s, we would not have believed where all this went. But my dad and I, Francis Schaeffer, who was a well-known theologian and evangelist, Dr. C. Everett Koop, who I made a film series with, who then became Ronald Reagan Surgeon General, and he and I and my dad essentially started the evangelical wing of the anti-abortion movement. Our ideas then were that we had to stop abortion. We regarded it as murder. The gay rights scene was just beginning to emerge, and we were standing against that. But the culture war since has spun out to the point where the evangelical vote, the white evangelical voter, not only put Trump in power, they are maintaining him in power. They are the last bastion of his support. And so when they all turned up in Jerusalem recently to have a prayer meeting while the Israeli military snipers shot down 60 Palestinians in cold blood from positions on a fortified wall in which not one Israeli was killed or injured on the military side, 60 to nothing, an absolute massacre. These evangelicals, Hagee and Jeffress and others, gathered in a prayer meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel, who has pursued a very nefarious, underhanded policy for years now, coddling the lunatic fringe, the moron fringe of the white evangelical American voter, the extremist fringe, the people who think Jesus is coming back any moment, or at least raise a lot of money pretending they do, like John Hagee, who's a total flake and con artist, who I know personally. And so you see the whole thing coming together. You've got the Prime Minister of Israel having American foreign policy deformed and formed by the evangelical vote that has put a completely unworthy man in the presidency. And you have these guys showing up for the party with the backdrop of gunfire. So it's a U.S. foreign policy, and I think people should get this through their head, when it comes to the Middle East, is now being dictated by the moron lunatic fringe of the white evangelical movement. And that's where we are today with Donald Trump. That's the deal he made for them to put him in power and keep their support going. then it came out. Then a few years later, he had to revise it because nothing he said was going to happen happened. A few years later, he revised it again. I mean, really, Saturday Night Live couldn't do a better job mocking these prophetic claims than revised books, updating the timetable for the return of Jesus. And then, of course, the whole series came out, Late Great Planet Earth, and that in a fiction form, sort of updated it again. 60 million copies sold.
That's the Left Behind books, you mean?
Yeah, the Left Behind.
Yeah.
What did I just say?
Yeah.
Left Behind. And what happened was basically a cult formed within evangelicalism of the rapture. And it was used by evangelists for years to scare kids in the aisle. You know, you better come to Jesus, confess your sins, because Jesus could come back any day. Israel's a nation again. We see signs. You know, any day you're going to look up now, the moon will turn to blood and Jesus will be on the way and you better get right with the Lord. That's how it was used. It was also used as fundraising. It's an enormous scam. A guy like Hagee and these others have built literal empires on this end-time nonsense. And then, of course, Israel has exploited it. Now, the Israeli government, not only are they Jews who are not Christians, but most of them are secularists, most of them are atheists. They are in Israel itself, they do business with Orthodox Jews, but the government is run by a secular group of technocrats, just like governments all over the world are. They look at these people as idiots, useful idiots, that they stroke and speak their language to and bring on tours to Israel. And now that they've got Trump doing their bidding, they think that, you know, this will all work out and this is their backbone of support. And of course, the great shame is on two fronts. First, if you were appealing, to answer your question, to the evangelical follower in this cult, who literally has cracked. I mean, these people's brains have been deformed by this. They've been in it so long. You'd have to say, look, none of the claims of the last 20, 30, 40 years of prophecy have come true. You have been lied to. All those books you bought, all those hundreds of dollars you spent on seminars, none of it happened. Second point would be you are being exploited by flakes like Hagee who are making money off you, by manipulative, cynical politicians, both in the United States and the Republican Party, ultimately Donald Trump and everybody in the Republican Party these days, and then in addition to that, doubly so by an atheistic group of Jewish technocrats in Israel who not only think your theology is insane, but behind your back to scoff at you.
Let's go to Sirach chapter 32. I mean, you can learn a lesson from all of this. Sirach chapter 32, verse 9. Look at this. Sirach chapter 32, verse 9. If thou be among great men, make not thyself equal with them, right? Don't be laughing with them on their jokes. They sitting up here joking and doing this. I mean, sometimes it ain't meant for you to be a part of the conversation. Sometimes it's meant for you to just look straight ahead and do what you're supposed to be doing. If thou be among great men, make not thyself equal with them. And when ancient men are in place, use not many words. Ancient men, you know, the young men need to follow the ordinance of the older men if they're keeping the commandments and doing everything according to the scriptures. You know, look at verse 8. Same thing. It says, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. And that's how you should be when you go around ancient men. Hold your tongue, young men, or young women around older women. You know, I mean, there's wisdom all throughout the scriptures. You just got to know how. Yahushua kept his tongue when he went amongst kings. Kept his tongue. He didn't even say nothing to Herod. He said, are you the king of the Jews? And he said, thou sayest I am. He didn't even say nothing. So, I mean, you got to be smart and you got to have wisdom. If Yahushua had wisdom, we got to have the same type of intellect. Be wise in this truth. And you'll go far in life. Let's go to the book of Daniel. Book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 1 and verse 3. Daniel chapter 1 and verse 3. And it reads, And the king spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace. See that? Daniel was like a house slave, I said. Daniel had the abilities to dwell within the palace of the king, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans are the wise men. So Daniel was well favored. And that's one of the things we pray for in this captivity too, favor. Because we are low men, we are base men in this kingdom. And we should be praying for favor because the scriptures tell us to pray for favor. Let's go to Baruch chapter 2. Let's go to Baruch chapter 2. Baruch chapter 2, verse 14. And it reads, Hear our prayers, O power, and our petitions, and deliver us for thine own sake, and give us favor in the sight of them which have led us away. See that? So we have to ask for favor in this captivity. That all the earth may know that thou art the power, our power, because Israel and his posterity is called by thy name. We are called by the Most High's name. Daniel chapter 1, and let's go to verse 4. Daniel chapter 1, verse 4. Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. See that? He gave us new names. For he gave unto Daniel the name of Belshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael, Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego. So they all got Babylonian names. They were in captivity. In the captivity, during this captivity, they used good judgment to excel by the knowledge of the Most High. Even though they got new names, they still had the knowledge of the Most High because most of them were raised with it. You know, there was a decree that we were supposed to keep throughout our generations. Deuteronomy chapter 4, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Deuteronomy. And it reads, Hear, O Israel, the Most High, our power, is one power. And thou shalt love the Most High thy power with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. But they were in captivity. They couldn't bind that on their hands. But they had this in their vessels. They had the teachings in their vessels because they grew up with it. So why did Babylon overtake us in the beginning? How did we even get to Babylon? What happened? Our king went off, and Jeremiah prophesied about it. Let's go to the Baruch chapter 2. Baruch prophesied about it too. Baruch chapter 2, and let's read verse 12. Baruch chapter 2, verse 12. And look what it says. O my power, our power, we have sinned. We have done ungodly. We have dealt unrighteously. in all thine ordinances. All right, so we still knew the law, statutes, and commandments, but the ordinances we did ungodly. We didn't keep the law. We didn't keep the love. We failed at the ordinances. See that? Sacrificial ordinances, we failed at it. Feast day ordinances, we failed at it in the kingdom. Let's go to Daniel chapter 1, verse 7. Start at 8. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. So he knew the laws. He knew the dietary laws. So what did we go off at? Remember, we were in the land and we failed at keeping the right ordinances in the land. Verse 9. Now the Most High had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the princes of the eunuchs. So what was that? That's that favor. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my power, the king, who hath appointed you your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. Then said Daniel to Mesar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give posts to eat and water to drink. All right? Talking about fruit. The post is fruit. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he consented to them in this matter and proved them 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their countenance appeared fair and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them posts. As for these 4 children, the Most High gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. So now, what is that learning and wisdom? We just read it in Deuteronomy chapter 4. We kept it, and that was our wisdom in the sight of the nations. So in this captivity, yes, we are still supposed to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, except for sacrificial laws. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. All right, so they were different than all other men. And they looked fairer than more men, and their faces shine like the sun because of the wisdom of the Most High. All right, let's go to Baruch chapter 4, and let's read this in Baruch. Baruch chapter 4, verse 1. Baruch chapter 4, verse 1. And let's see, this is what Daniel did and his 3 brethren, his friends. Baruch 4 and 1. This is the book of the commandments of the Most High and the law that endure forever. They kept the law. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated. That's the wisdom. Give not honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation. Did Daniel give the law, statutes, and commandments to the Babylonians? No, they kept that secret. Understand that men have no power on the earth unless it's given to them by the Most High. The Most High, when you look at the scriptures, the Most High has always told us over and over and over that Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Jacob is the apple of his eye. Jacob is his friend. The Most High will never slumber with Jacob. So we've always had a protector, even when we are in captivity, when we keep his law, statutes, and commandments. All we got to worry about. You're not going to be able to keep the feast days perfect, as long as you keep the feast days. But the ordinances that come along with, remember, we had high priests and priests in the midst of us when we kept those feast days, doing certain things with the incense and all that, man. We can't keep that in this captivity. All we can keep is the law, statutes, commandments, and keep the feast days to the best of your ability. That's all we can do. Let's go to Baruch. Actually, let's go to Daniel chapter 4. And it's the truth. Daniel didn't tell them the laws. Remember what Yahushua said? Cast not thy pearls to swine. Yahushua even said that. Don't cast your pearls to swine, because they'll trample over it. So we never gave the other nations our laws. Daniel chapter 4. Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. Daniel 4 and 17. It reads, this matter is by the decree of the watchers. Who's the watchers? You read that in the book of Enoch, the watchers of the angels. And the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know. Who is the living? Those who keep the commandments. Not the dead. The dead ain't going to know this. And the dead are those who are walking around. Those are the dead. It says that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and give it to whomever he will, and set it up over in the basis of men. So you wonder why Donald Trump is president. The Most High set him up. He ruleth in the kingdom of men. Bill Clinton got in office. He was an adulterer. You know, he went in there with adultery and left with adultery. You know what I mean? The Bushes, they were in there. They were killed. They were murderers. All them dudes was murderers. Bill Clinton too. Ronald Reagan, murderer. They believed in horoscopes and all that crap in the sky. You know, his wife was a witch. These people, man, we are living in Babylon. This is the real life Babylon. Mystery Babylon, habitation of devils. Revelation 18. Y'all don't know that we're in Babylon, guess what? Better wake up, because we are. Revelation 18 and verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. See that? Every unclean and hateful bird. That's what this place is. Babylon. Go to Baruch chapter 4 and verse 29. Baruch 4 and 29. And look at this. For he that hath brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy again with your salvation. Take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort you. Miserable are they that afflicted you, and rejoiced at thy fall. That's why I said they're going to fall. Babylon the Great is going to fall. It's falling. Miserable are the cities which thy children serve. We serve in these miserable cities, man. Every one of them is miserable. Miserable is she that received thy sons. For as she rejoiced at thy ruin, and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. That's America's future. For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of what? Of devils for a great time. That's this place, Babylon the Great. Habitation of devils. We dwell in the habitation of devils, deceivers. Let's go to Daniel chapter 5. Yeah, I mean, for you to find friends in this kingdom, you're going to find friends of the devils. Many devils, man. So I say your companions, the devils. They follow the devils, all your companions. I mean, he said that in the book of Maccabees, the Most High said that evil is multiplied on the earth. What do you think darkness is? And he said, darkness shall encompass the earth. What do you think that is? It's evils. Evil's multiplied. That's what the darkness is. It tells you in the scriptures that it was evils. It never happened like that before. In First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put on crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. Why do you think that all should be damned? For they worship a lie. Because evils are multiplied in the earth. Why do you think they say we wearied ourselves from the truth in the Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5? Because evils multiplied in the earth. When he said the Gentiles shall come from afar, saying we inherited lies. Why? Because evils multiplied in the earth. Evils are within the earth and is inhabited by devils. Most High is trying to tell us we are in the land of devils. All these deceivers, none of them follow his laws, statutes, commandments. They laugh, they mock, they don't want to learn it. They think it's a joke. They think it's a fantasy book, a fairy tale book, but it's come to pass. Everything that he said is happening. You can't go to Nostradamus or Negro Damus and get information from him. He don't know nothing. You got to go to the scriptures. Daniel chapter 5, verse 18. Daniel chapter 5, verse 18. O thou king, the most high power gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom, a majesty, and glory, and honor. All right, so who set up kings in the kingdoms of men? The Most High. He set up Nebuchadnezzar. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, it said that he gave him. Who gave him? The Most High gave him. All people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whom he would, he slew, and whom he would, he kept alive. And whom he would, he set up. And whom he would, he put down. Sounds like when we gonna take over. Same thing. And it reads, but when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne. And they took his glory from him. Who took his glory? Another kingdom. The same thing can happen here. It's always the plague that hit the earth, and then years later, the kingdom gets destroyed. People get happy. Oh, we came out of that plague, but then the Most High brings another plague on top. That's why it says Babylon has fallen, still up. Verse 21. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, talking about the king of Babylon. And his body was wet with the dew of heaven. He lost his mind till he knew that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he willeth. See, these kings got to realize who's running things. It's the Most High power, Yahweh. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, though thou knowest all this. Because what happened? Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar the dream, and he told him that the kingdom was going to fall. He knew the beginning before the end. He already knew it. He didn't change it. You think Trump is trying to change something? Did he not know that the coronavirus was already coming? These people, they know it, and they see their destruction, and they continue to follow the destruction instead of changing it. But hast lifted up thyself against the Most High of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the gods of silver, and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the Most High, in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified. See that? Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. All right, so what I'm about to read now is the end of the kingdom of Babylon. And it reads, And this is the writing that was written, many, many, Tikal, Farson. This is the interpretation of the thing, many. The Most High hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. So what happened to the kingdom? It was given to the Medes and Persians. Now, we're going to go into, you might want to write this down. We're about to go into the beginning of the book of Bel and the Dragon, because a lot of people don't know where it fits. It begins here, because there's a transitioning of powers from the Babylonians to the Persians and the Medes. And if you keep reading, you notice in chapter 6, Darius sets up princes and presidents and kings within his provinces. And Daniel's one of them. Well, how did he know that Daniel was an upstanding man? If the kingdom just overturned, if the kingdom came in and just overtook the kingdom of Babylon, something had to happen for him to know that Daniel was more than perfect. So that's where you get this book called Bel and the Dragon in the Apocrypha. It comes in right in between that. Because a lot of people don't know where it fits. This is when it starts. After Daniel 6 and 28, Bel and the Dragon starts. And I'm going to read the first verse. It says, and King Xerxes was gathered to his fathers, and Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom. See that? So Cyrus came after Xerxes. Xerxes conquered it, and then Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom. And Daniel conversed with the king. Who was he conversing with? The new king. And was honored above all his friends. See that? The king saw his wisdom. This is how we paste this right in between those verses in the book of Daniel chapter 5. Let's drop down to 3. Now the Babylonians had an idol called Bel, and there were spent upon him every day 12 great measures of fine flour, and 40 sheep, and 6 vessels of wine. They left this throne in the land of Persia and the Medes. Because the thing about the Persians and the Medes, they let a lot of these cities that were under the Babylonians stay. They didn't totally just corrupt them. They let them continue to run their provinces the way that they were. And they made changes along the way. It reads, verse 4, and the king worshipped it and went daily to adore it. But Daniel worshipped his own power. And the king said unto him, why dost not thou worship Baal? See that? The king said, man, how come you ain't worshiping this? I see everybody else worshiping it. Verse 5. Who answered and said, because I may not worship idols made with hands, but the living power who have created the heaven and the earth, and have sovereignty over all flesh. See that? Remember, he ruleth in the kingdom of men, the Most High. Verse 6. Then said the king unto him, thinkest thou not that Baal is a living power? Seest thou not how much he eateth and drinketh every day? Then Daniel smiled and said, O king, be not deceived, for this is but clay within and brass without, and did never eat or drink or anything. You see that today when you go into Chinese restaurants or Japanese restaurants or Asian restaurants, they got like a little Buddha. It's like it. The little statue sitting up there in the front, and then they got all these little fruits and stuff sitting on the statue. Well, they ain't changed too much their customs. They still following the days of old. All right? They're still following these old customs, pagan customs. Verse 8. So the king was wroth and called for his priests and said unto them, if ye tell me not who this is that devoureth these expenses, ye shall die. But if ye can certify me that Baal devoureth them, then Daniel shall die. For he hath spoken blasphemy against Baal. And Daniel said unto the king, let it be according to thy word. So they're having a dispute about this golden idol. And Daniel's telling them, man, this idol ain't nothing. It's just brass. It ain't even a real God. Verse 10. Now the priests of Baal were 70, besides their wives and children. And the king went with Daniel into the temple of Baal. So Bel's priest said, Lo, we go out, but thou, O king, set on the meat, and make ready the wine, and shut the door fast, and seal it with thine own signet, so no one can go in and out. And tomorrow when thou comest in, if thou findest not that Bel hath eaten it up all, we will suffer death, or else Daniel that speaketh falsely against us. And they little regarded it. For under the table they had made a privy entrance whereby they entered in continually and consumed those things. You know, priests, they have a back door, to get into the temple. That's basically what was going on. So the king sealed the main entrance door, but not the back door, the door of the priest. So when they were gone forth, the king set meals before Bel. Now Daniel also, he had commanded his servants to bring ashes, and those that showed or strewed throughout all the temple in the presence of the king alone. Then went they out and shut the door and sealed it with the king's signet, and so departed. So Daniel had his men go in there with ashes and sprinkle it all over the floor. Because obviously these men was probably walking in the dark to get the food, and the fruit off these statues. Now the night came the priests with their wives and children, as they were wont to do, and did eat and drink up all. In the morning betime the king arose, and Daniel with him. And the king said, Daniel, are the seals whole? And he said, Yes, O king, they be whole. And as soon as he had opened the door, the king looked upon the table and cried with a loud voice, Great art thou, O Bel, and with thee is no deceit at all. Then laughed Daniel. Daniel's laughing in front of a king. And held the king that he should not go in, and said, Behold, now the pavement, and mark well whose footsteps are these. And the king said, I see the footsteps of men, women, and children. And then the king was angry, and took the priests with their wives and children, and showed him the privy doors where they came in, and consumed things as were upon the table. Therefore the king slew them, and delivered Bel into Daniel's power, who destroyed him and his temple. So what happened? All these priests were bringing their wives and children in there to eat the food that was set on this giant statue of a dragon made out of brass. They were sneaking in through the back door. And Daniel had a little investigator in him by putting ashes all over the floor. And that's how he was able to determine that these priests were not really priests. They were wicked men. Even after the signet was sealed, they were still doing it. So then he killed think about that. This king killed 70 priests and their family. No telling how many children they had. Killed them all. Killed everybody. It's heavy. Jump over to verse 28. It says, When they of Babylon heard that, they took great indignation and conspired against the king, saying, The king has become a Jew, and he hath destroyed Bel. He has slain the dragon and put the priest to death. Yeah, he converted. This is the Persian king. He converted after he saw that, right? And you wonder why he let them go back to Israel. But this is what we have, when you read on, it shows how, let's read it real quick so you can see. Now, this is the end of this, and verse 28 is when you jump back to Daniel chapter 6, and this is where it begins. If we read the history of Bel and the dragon, chapter 1, verse 29, you'll see it says, so you should if you want to keep the understanding, just draw a little line between verse 28 and verse 29, and you could just put on the side of it Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. Okay? That way you don't get mixed up when you read Bel and the dragon. So from 29 on down is what happened in chapter 6 of Daniel. And it says, So they came to the king and said, Deliver us, Daniel, or else we will destroy thee in thine house. Now when the king saw that they pressed him sore, being constrained, he delivered Daniel unto them, who cast him into the lion's den, where he was 6 days. So go back over to Daniel chapter 6. Let's leave off where we left. Let's start where we left off at. Let's go back to Daniel chapter 5, verse 29. Daniel chapter 5, verse 29. It says, Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. Now you understand how he got his favor. He got his favor because this transpired in between verse 28 and verse 29 of Daniel chapter 5. Because there's no way he could get his favor. How else would he get favor just that quick? What did he do special to take down Babylon other than prophesy what happened? This is a new king coming in. You have to win favor with it. Remember what happened in Egypt? A new king came in and put us in captivity, who knew not Joseph. It's the same thing here. Verse 29. Then commanded Belshazzar, we read that. Let's go to 30. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And Darius, the Median, took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. All right. So if we read chapter 6, what it's telling us is that Daniel was thrown in the lion's den. All right. Because he was praying in the upper room. And this is when they came. They already wanted Daniel, because of what happened with the dragon. But this is when they really went after him, when he broke the decree of the king, because the king came up with a new decree. Where is it at? Let's go to verse 8. Daniel 6 and 8. Daniel chapter 6, verse 8, and it reads, Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Because when a kingdom comes in, the first thing they do is they take their booty, take their captivities, the captives, and then they make new laws. They start changing the laws so people can follow their rules. And those who don't adhere to the rules and try to continue to do the old rules, they die. They get killed. That's how they establish peace in their kingdom. Verse 9. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem. He kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day, and prayed and gave thanks before his power, as he did aforetime. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his power. Then they came near and spoke before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed the decree, that every man that shall ask a petition of any power or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, The thing is true according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king that Daniel, which is of the captivity of the children of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. And he's a president. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. So what did Daniel do? He made friends with this king by example. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spoke and said unto Daniel, Thy power, whom thou servest, continually he will deliver you. So why did the king, you have to ask yourself, how did the king believe in his power in the first place? From Bel and the dragon. That's how Daniel won favor with the king. See that? So that's how you win favor with kings. By your reputation. Let's go to, look at Daniel 6 and 28. so you don't get confused with Bel and the dragon. Daniel chapter 6, verse 28. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Because in Bel and the Dragon, it starts off with Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom. So Cyrus was the father of Darius, so you don't get confused. And his reign was very short, and Darius took over. And Darius is not really spoken of a lot in history, but he was the son of King Cyrus. All right. So now you have that understanding. So there's no confusion. Let's see. Let's go to Luke chapter 16 and 9. So yeah, we can win favor with kings just by keeping our commandments and making things that look difficult very simple. The wisdom that we have and make things look very easy and very simple. Luke chapter 16, verse 9. Luke chapter 16, verse 9, and it reads, And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. All right. Who are the friends of the mammon? Those are those of the rich people. And they are the people of unrighteousness. They don't believe in the laws. They might believe in you, but they don't keep the laws of the Most High. You know, those laws are for us. He showed up his word unto Jacob. He has not dealt so with any nation. Okay, he's only dealt with us. So yeah, make friends. You can make friends with the rich, because you may need them one day. Never know. But there will be a day when this wisdom will come and cause kings to drop to their knees and kingdoms to fall. But we have to first do the work, so our names can be summoned by the Most High in Hamashiach. This is the importance of friends, that when we stand together in obedience and in righteousness, the kingdom will come. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. Standing in righteousness, really standing in obedience first. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 10. See, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. See that? That's what the other kingdoms did when they took over. When Babylon lost to Persia and the Medes, that's what the Persians and the Medes did. Same thing. Well, we're going to do the same thing. We got to destroy this kingdom. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 33. Look, what we did during the Martin Luther King days ain't going to happen during the Most High's days. Ours is going to be different. Most High's going to bash his enemies over the head with a rod of iron. He's going to take it by force. Just like they took it by force, we're going to take it by force. All right? Isaiah 33, verse 5. Isaiah chapter 33, verse 5. The Most High is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness. See, we're going to judge the nations. And we're going to have the righteousness by that time. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Most High is his treasure. See that? That's how we're going to bash the nations. We're going to judge the nations by judgments. We're going to have a sword in our right hand, you know, a double-edged sword on top of it. Isaiah chapter 62. Let's go to Isaiah 62, verse 1. Isaiah 62, verse 1. And it reads, For Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest, until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness. You know what the brightness is now? The wisdom. And the wisdom is the laws of the Most High. And the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Most High shall name. Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Most High, and a royal diadem in the hand of the Most High. It'll be like a ruby. Let's go to Revelation chapter 1 and 13 and 9, one of my favorites. Boy, Esau hate hearing this. Revelation chapter 13 and 9. And it reads, If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. How we get to America? We went into captivity. It said, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So all these people are going into captivity. Trust me on that. They're going into captivity. It says, he that killeth with the sword, didn't they kill us with the sword? Didn't they shoot us down? Didn't they have a Gatling gun? Didn't they kill all our people? They took over the whole America, the whole continent of America. You ever drive through America? You ever drive through the northern part of America and see all the vast land? Man, it just, I say to myself, every time I drive through certain states, I'm like, they took over this whole place. How in the world did they conquer this whole place? How did they root out all the Native American Indians out of this land? On horseback. There's just so much coverage. So much to cover. It says, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. Hear that? So he's telling you what's going to happen. This is in the book of Revelation. This is the last book. He said this is going to happen. Let's go to Baruch chapter 4, verse 25. Baruch 4 and 25. It says, my children. Who is his children? The children of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. And his history on every one of us being from the tribes. This is what the world don't understand. This is what they've been shutting us. This is why we're on the blacklist of America. This is why they hate the Israelites. Because we bring truth and knowledge. This is why they hate us. People can laugh, they can do all this stupid stuff, but you know what? They're going to pay. Every last one of them going to pay just for lifting the tongue up. It says, my children suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High. For thine enemy have persecuted thee. But shortly thou shalt see his destruction, and shalt tread upon his neck. See that? We're going to tread upon his neck. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7 and 18. Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever. Hallelujah. That's what's going to happen in the last days. This whole book is prophecy of what's going to happen. All right. And with that, I'm going to close it off. And that's the end of Friends Part 3. All right. Are there any questions, statements, or comments for today's class?
This is the word of the Lord of hosts. I took you from the pastures and from following the sheep to be prince over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone and have destroyed all the enemies in your path. I will make you a great name among the great ones of the earth. I will assign a place for my people in Israel. There I will plant them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
Shalom, Mark. Brother Reggie.
Yeah, I got a question. I just want to get some clarity.
Huh.
You say that the elder dragon, it should be placed between, Daniel 5, verse 28 and 29.
Con.
The elder dragon.
Con.
So,
Con. That's where it goes.
Okay, cool.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, because they didn't include the Apocrypha with the Bible, which they should have in the beginning. You know, in the 1611 King James Bible it is here, but you got to play it just like the Book of Esther in the Apocrypha. It starts off in the Apocrypha with chapter 10. You know what I mean? And when you read the Bible, it stops at Esther stops at 10 in the Bible, and it begins with 10 in the Apocrypha. And the thing about it is, and the thing about it is, it tells you who Haman was in the whole book of the Apocrypha, and they hid that when they pulled the Apocrypha out. Just by them taking these books out, you would never figure out who the enemies of Israel was in the book of Esther. You understand? Because
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I just finished reading Esther, and I was kind of, I was shocked to find out that Haman was an Edomite.
Right. Right.
They kind of threw me away there.
Right. Esau changes his name too. You know, just like we changed our name from Judah to Jeshurun to Zion. You know, we have different names too. But Esau changes his name as well. Idumea, the Amalekites, the Macedonians, the Greeks, the Romans. You know, he keeps changing his name too, but it's all still the same people.